Good morning and welcome everyone to the BA Corner. In today's session, we're going to talk about asking the right questions when you're starting a new project as a business analyst. And we'll also talk about how you can build more questions that are relevant to the project and how you can ask those when you need to. When you need to start the project and get the project going. So let me just share my screen and we'll look at the slides that I have for you today. Here we go. So again, welcome to the BA Corner. And today we're going to look at how to ask the right questions and how to ask the questions right. So whenever you're starting a new project, you're joining a new organization as a business analyst, or you're starting a new project within your organization as a business analyst, what are the right questions that you should be asking in order to get the right answers from all the stakeholders so you can help move the project along? According to the Business Analysis Book of Knowledge, the Business Requirements Classification Schema describes that requirements fall within certain categories. And those categories are business requirements, stakeholder requirements, solution requirements. And within solution requirements, you have solution functional requirements and solution non-functional requirements. And finally, we end the requirements with transitional requirements. Now, given this framework of requirements that are essential for starting any new project, what can we do to derive questions out of these requirements? Now, in alignment with the business requirements, it will be very useful for the project and for you as a driver of this project to understand and ask from your stakeholders purpose-related questions. As part of the stakeholder requirements, you'll be asking people-related questions. As part of solution requirement, you'll be asking outcome-related questions. And under solution requirements, as part of the functional requirements, you'll be asking what are the expected outcomes of the project or out of the solution that you're building, and what are the non-functional requirements from the solution that are expected. Non-functional requirements can be how fast should the system respond, how many users should it support, and so on and so forth. The transition requirements involve all the people that need to be trained in order to use the solution that is developed, all the teams that needs to be handed over new solutions, new processes, and new tools so that they can start using the newly built solution in order to achieve the goals that they want to achieve. So now let's look at a little more detail into all these types of questions which align with the business requirements framework. So first, I'd like to talk about purpose questions. At the beginning of any project, it is very important to ask what are the goals of the project. And these questions you'll be asking with, to all the stakeholders involved, to all the sponsors of the project, to all the people who are paying for the project, to the people who are going to be involved, who are responsible for the activities that come out of the project, and those people who are going to be using the solution once it's implemented. We want to know what are the goals that the unit for which you're building the solution has for this year. What are the goals the unit has for the next few years? And that will help you determine all the things that you need to keep in mind in order to make sure that the solution not only delivers the expected outcomes in the short term, but also in the long term. Another important question to ask at the beginning as part of the purpose questions is, what are the problems that need to be solved? Are there process problems? Are there tool problems? Are there some processes which are causing delays? Are some tools which are not living up to the expectations? So some of the questions that you can ask related to the project at the beginning stage are, what are the problems that the teams currently face? The next set of questions to ask is, how do you measure success? In order for a project to determine, or a project team to determine whether the project being implemented is moving towards its goal, or is going towards, is the solution that's being built is something that is going to deliver value, it's important to know how you measure success. What are the key performance indicators, KPIs, that the team, that the team uses now in order to report out to the larger organization about the performance of the team? What are the, for a marketing team, it could be the revenue that is generated month over month. For a data quality team, it could be the number of quality issues that the team has resolved month over month. For a sales team, it could be revenue that is generated month over month, which could be a measure of success. And the solution that's being developed has to ultimately help the team improve on the measures of success or achieve goals that are determined in this initial phase. Another important question that you should be asking your stakeholders is, what are they expected to deliver at the end of a certain period, or what are they expected to deliver at the end of a project? Now, any new project, any new solution, that any new process that needs to be implemented is usually initiated by a team, and they are usually handed goals that they need to meet. When money is being spent to start, run, and end a project, the organization sets some goals so that the money is being spent is justified on the, the money that's being spent on the project is justified. And so it's important to understand what is the deliverables of the stakeholders that you are working with. The next set of questions that align with the stakeholder requirements are people questions. Who are the leaders of the team? What are the goals for the leaders? Who are the team members, and what are the roles the team members play? And what are the goals of these team members? What are they expected to deliver? Another important aspect of stakeholder requirements is, what are the tools and processes used by everybody in the team? In a large team or a small team, every member of the team will have his or her own goals and objectives to meet. And to meet those objectives, they would be using certain tools and certain processes in order to meet those objectives. So it is important to understand what are the tools and processes that are used by all the members of the team in order for the whole team as a unit to deliver the expected outcomes that they are held accountable for. It's important to understand that if there is a process, who does what in the process, and if there is a dependency that the team has, if the team hands over certain aspects of their work to another team, it's important to know what are the inputs that are provided by your core stakeholder team to the other external teams or units that will in turn return another deliverable which is part of that process. So it's important to learn all the people involved, not only your core stakeholder team, but also all the other connected teams that one or the other way interact with your stakeholder team. So it's important to understand and ask these kind of questions to help you gather the full picture of all the stakeholders. The next thing that you'll want to talk about and ask questions about are the outcome questions. Now, these are solution requirements. And specifically, it's important to go into what are the deliverables that all the people have, all the stakeholders have, which needs to be achieved using the solution that is being developed as part of this project. So what do the team leaders need to deliver? What do the team members need to deliver? This is to understand that everybody's requirements will be different based on the area that they're responsible for, based on the account, the aspects of the business that they are accountable for. And so the deliverables that are expected from various stakeholders in the team will be different. So it's important to understand what they want to be able to deliver as a unit when this solution that is being built as part of the project is handed over to them. We want to understand how frequently are the deliverables expected. Frequency of let's say we are talking about a report, then we want to know how frequently the reports need to be generated. If we are talking about if we are talking about generation of certain data, we want to understand how frequently this data needs to be generated. If we are talking about setting up of a, let's say, an e-commerce website for your stakeholders, we want to understand how many customers does the solution, e-commerce solution, needs to be able to serve. So these are all the outcome related questions that are very very important to ask, and that will inform you in how you build the solution. And again, if there are activities that the stakeholders in this team involve members from the other, from other connected teams, what are the activities that the other teams help you? Not only your core team, but any connected ancillary teams. So it's important to ask all these outcome related questions. What is the final output that is expected from the unit, from the solution, that are important to ask at this point. The next set of equally important aspect of the solution is the performance. What is the expected performance from the solution? Many a times, it could be that the current solution that a team has is too slow, is too time consuming, is the number of steps involved to achieve the outcome is too much, or there are many points of failure within the steps or the process that the team takes. So it's important to understand all the pain points related to how slow a solution is, or if in order to accomplish a task, if a team member needs to go to multiple systems to understand the current state of let's say a sales order, it's important to know all the pain points involved in these process. And we want to know if the process that they currently have involve a lot of manual work. And so the goal, one of the goals of the performance of the solution is to reduce that manual work as much as possible. Another important key factor is what are the environments in which the solution will be operated in. Let's say that you're building a mobile application. You want to know whether the mobile application is always going to be operated in an environment where there is strong connectivity available, or if the app needs to operate in an environment where the connectivity is poor or infrequent. In that case, the solution, the performance expectations from the app will change, in that you need the ability for the app to work offline, and when connectivity is and store the data of the of the activities done on the app while it's offline, and then when a connection is achieved, to then transmit the data to any connecting systems. So it's important to understand what are the environments that the solution will be operating in. So all these questions fall within the performance expectations from the solution, and thus these are all important questions to ask when talking about the solution. And finally, when it comes to delivering a solution to your stakeholders, you need to understand who are all the people that need to be trained on the solution. What are the training that they need to provide? What is what are the training that you need to provide to these stakeholders? What is their current knowledge level? What is their awareness about the solution? What are the skills that they have in order for them to use the solution that you're building effectively? If you're building a solution that needs somebody to have, let's say, SQL knowledge, but the current stakeholders or the current team members don't have SQL knowledge, then that means your solution should not now need them to go learn SQL. If you're building a solution that along with in alignment with the example that I gave you, you can't build a solution that needs a lot of process and people changes and skill changes within the team, unless unless that is one of the aspects of the organization that needs to be changed as part of this project. You want to know who will be held accountable for the outputs that this solution provides after the solution is deployed and the team has taken over. And you want to know who are the people responsible for operating the solution once it's deployed. Who are the people, if you're building a mobile app, you want to know who are the people using the mobile app. And then ensure that all these people are trained to use the new application, are comfortable with using the new application, and that they're and that they are comfortable with using the application, so that once the solution is deployed, the team actually uses the solution. In many organizations, a solution is built, it's an excellent solution, but if the people who are responsible for operating the solution are not given enough advance notice that the new solution is coming, or they're not given enough training on how to use the new solution, the solution just sits there unused, and people go about solving their problems the way they currently do. So it's very important to train people, and it's very important to do the change management properly, And at the beginning of the project, it's important to ask all those questions related to the people, related to training, related to change management that needs to be taken up as part of the project, so that when the solution is developed, people will be able to use the solution and make effective use of it. So those are the different types of questions, different groups of questions that you can ask when you're starting a new project. Now let's talk about how to ask the right questions. Now, although we have this huge list of questions, the attitude that you need to adopt as a business analyst to ask the right questions is that your goal as a business analyst is to move the project forward. And people expect you to help move the project forward. And so there is very little room for hesitation to ask the question. It's as a BA, you need to understand that your role, the key aspect of your role is to ask these questions, make sure that there are no unknowns, make sure there are no gaps in the knowledge, and then only then you'll be able to translate all these questions and answers that you receive into proper requirements that finally deliver an effective solution. And so it's important that you don't be shy about asking questions. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Ask as many questions as you can. And many people, including myself, sometimes think that maybe I'm bothering these stakeholders too much by asking so many questions. Maybe maybe they'll think that I'm not a qualified business analyst because I ask too many stupid questions. And these are valid fears. I have them all the time. I have a lot of colleagues and friends who told me that they have these kind of fears all the time, and they hesitate to ask questions. It's as a BA, one of your responsibilities is to put on a mask of shamelessness and ask questions, however stupid it may appear to you, but it may not seem the same way to the stakeholders who are asking, to whom you are asking these questions. So you need to try and not hear too much to that inner critic who might be, your inner voice who might be telling you, hey, hold back, don't ask many questions. You should not listen too much to that inner voice and ask questions. Now, it's very important to ask as many questions as you can, because only by asking these questions at the beginning of the project and even during the project with all your stakeholders, that you'll uncover the complete set of problems that exist, or the complete set of processes that exist, which people may not remember to talk about, or people may just forget, or people may assume that you already know about the solution. For example, if you are coming from, if you're a business analyst in the banking industry and you join another new project or you join another bank, people may think, hey, you're coming from the banking industry. I'm sure you're experienced, in all these things. I don't want to go into too much detail and give you, they may think that we can skip some questions or they may skip some answers. And you yourself might think that based on your past experience, you don't need to ask certain questions. Again, it's very important to be a little shameless in asking, be a little open and ask questions, even if it is just to clarify an assumption that you made, or even if it is just to confirm the experience or the knowledge that you already have about the industry that you're working with or the project that you're working on. So always, if you don't know something, you should ask. If you know something, you should ask and confirm that what you know is right. If you are making assumptions about something, you should test those assumptions, have those assumptions verified and clarified by the stakeholders. And many a times there is a lot of pressure on business analysts on asking the right question. And there are many articles out there on the web that you'll read where people are talking about how a business analyst, an experienced business analyst with the right skills, has the ability to ask the right questions and discover all the aspects of a project. Many times, it's not obvious that the question that you're asking is the right question. You'll only know whether the questions that you asked are the right questions or not after you get all the answers and after you analyze the answers. After you go through all the answers that you received, it's only then that you will realize that, hey, these 3 questions that I asked were the right questions to ask. Even if it's a project that you've done many times, even if it's an industry or a company that you have a lot of experience with, many times you may not know that the question that you asked are the right questions until after you've analyzed the answers. And so, you should take that pressure off of yourself in order to, so don't keep the pressure on yourself that somehow you have to know this magical set of right questions to ask that will solve all your problems. Ask as many questions. Approach the questions that you're asking with a sense of curiosity, and the answers that you get, analyze those answers and go back to clarify or confirm what you understood from the answers. So we spoke about the what questions to ask, and we now spoke about how to ask these questions. What is the attitude that you need to adopt in order to ask these questions, and how to come up with more questions, because it's like basketball. If you want to end up at the end of the day with, let's say, 10 successful baskets, you need to throw 100 questions or 200 questions, we don't know, or you need to throw the ball 200 times. So you don't know until you ask as many questions as you can think of, that you've asked enough questions or that you have all the answers. So do not hesitate to ask questions. So just to summarize, before we talk a little bit about myself, just to summarize, use the different aspects of your requirements that you need to gather to help you guide what questions to ask. We are looking at business requirements that you can get by asking purpose-related questions. You can ask stakeholder requirements by talking about people-related questions. You can ask solution requirements by talking about outcome-related questions. You can ask training or transition requirements by talking about training and handover-related questions. And again, there is no magical set of right questions that you can ask. Don't be under the pressure that you're somehow supposed to know the magical right questions, the fewest possible questions that you can ask to understand all that is required about the project. Ask as many questions as you can. Do not hesitate. It's your responsibility as a business analyst to ask a million questions in order to be able to move the project forward. Always aim to move the project forward when you're asking questions. Always think, what is it that I need to know in order for me to move the project forward? Let me conclude by talking a little bit about myself. and my team. We are a team of business analysts with more than 30 years of combined experience in the IT field. We are certified business analyst professionals, and we have experience with projects of varied size and complexity, and we have experience providing coaching and mentoring. And I'd like to thank you all for your time, and thank you for tuning in. And I wish you all your success in asking questions. Thank you once again.